Live from Kakariko Village. Broadcast throughout the Retroverse, transmitted to the real world via a maze of wires connecting a Super Nintendo to a Wii, to a Wi-Fi network, and finally to the Internet. The Techno Funk Boy presents the Retro Zoo Super Show. Now here are your hosts, Kai and Steven.
Well, greetings all. Welcome to the Retro Zoo Super Show. I'm your host, Kai. We are produced, as always, by Drum. Drum, how is it going today?
I am functioning normally.
That's great. So, I am alone today. But I'm not actually alone. We do have a special guest, as we hinted to last week. But if you did miss the episode last week, Steven does have a job here for the Christmas season that is going to prevent him from being on the program during the month of December. But never fear, we do have some guests lined up. We have some fun shows lined up, and I'm very pleased about what's going to happen today. So the first thing, okay, we have a lot to talk about, so we got to jump into this. But the first thing is our show notes for today's show is at technofunkboy.com/15. That's the numbers 15 for 15, episode 15. We do want you to check that out because we are going to mention probably some videos here, some links that will all be there because we are going to be discussing the upcoming AGDQ event coming next month, and we'll get more into that here in just a minute, but do please check out technofunkboy.com/15. Now, right into our guests, because we have a ton to talk about. I am very pleased that we are joined today by my good friend, jimsfriend. I'm not Jim. I'm a different friend. It just sounds weird. I should have worded that differently. Anyways, Jim's friend. Welcome,
Jim's friend.
Oh, so I have to tell a funny story about you.
Go on.
Because we've known each other for a while. And you know, you've known me before I really got into speedrunning and all that. And I knew you basically after, you know, you were really active in speedrunning and didn't know it. And so I started watching like games done quick and stuff, and you know, found out that you like some old games as well, and tried to tell you about, you know, have you heard this thing?
Oh man, I think I remember this.
Have you heard of this thing called Awesome Games Done Quick? And you're like, yeah, I've been to like 50 of them.
No, at the time it was like 2. And now it's only 3, and I stopped attending. Mostly because of vacation days and money.
Well, that happens. And that's the main reason I've never been.
Yeah, yeah, that's why a lot of people don't go.
But I really do. And so, like, over time, as I talk to you more about speedrunning, I've learned more about your alter ego, who is Jim's friend. And
that's not the alter ego.
You're like Superman. Superman is the real identity, right?
Yeah.
So, but I did, thank you so much for joining us. You know, in our last episode, which I don't think you've heard.
Nope.
It's always great to have guests that don't listen.
I have the link. It's like 20 pages deep in my email.
That's right. But in the last episode, Steven and I was trying to explain to him why speedrunning is fun. And we are doing this because next month is the annual event of Awesome Games Done Quick. I don't think, unless I'm just missing something major, which I don't think I am, this is kind of the speedrun event of the year. This is the big one.
Yeah, Summer Games Done Quick is a lot less influential and important to a lot of people.
Right. And then from Summer Games Done Quick is still probably second on the list.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot more, but those are the big ones. And so January is when the big event hits. And so we did want to note it on the podcast, but you were nice enough to come on to talk to us a little bit further about speedrunning. And so first of all, who in the world are you?
Jim's friend.
I knew you were going to answer like that. That's awesome.
Me too. And then, go on.
So, you, is it safe to say you were a speedrunner?
Yes.
Or are you a speedrunner on hiatus at the moment? Or is that undecided?
It comes to a lot of the people who used to speedrun and no longer do. It's not a matter of they don't want to.
Yeah.
It's a matter of they doing it themselves is no longer entertaining. It's not fun. It's the grind is no longer enjoyable.
Okay.
And so they stop.
Yeah.
But they still enjoy the concept. They enjoy thinking about it. And they wish they enjoyed doing it.
Right.
But they don't.
Right.
So they don't.
So, let's back up.
Okay.
So, your game was Mario World.
Super Mario World, yes.
Yes. And
almost exclusively.
And you started before technically there was a thing called Twitch.
Yes.
There was Twitch. It was just called something else.
Well, it was owned by different people as well.
Oh, was it? Oh, I didn't know that.
I believe so.
Well, I think like Amazon owns it now or something.
Well, now, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, for in any case, what was it called then?
Justin.tv.
Justin.tv. And
which is where I watched season 1 of Dragon Ball Z.
Nice. So Justin.tv, I mean, Twitch is pretty focused now, but Justin.tv was kind of all over the place.
Yeah, they allowed live streaming. When they switched to Twitch.tv, it became video game only.
Right.
And now they've slowly started adding other stuff back in.
Yeah, okay. And this was back when you were telling me, and well, I remember how expensive computer equipment was at the time, but
yes.
Capture cards were not easily obtained.
Right. Like most, at the time, I didn't even know what a capture card was.
So
I thought it was like a video card, a flat piece of motherboard-looking material that you plug into your computer, which it is not. At least not anymore. I don't know if they were
now
then.
that you're saying that, I'm not sure I've seen one. What does it look like? Is it
the one that I had
this is
most
embarrassing.
Recently
this is embarrassing for a gaming podcast. I was like, no, I'm not on Twitch.
It literally just looked like a USB adapter. You know, the little I don't know how to describe this in words, but here's what it looks like.
Yes, he's showing me right now. This is very descriptive.
With cords coming out both ends. And one set of cords is a USB plug.
Okay.
And the other set of cords is like the red, yellow, white plug that you have from all of your old TVs. Or the little, the black one with like the pointy thing.
Yes.
That the old antennas use.
Right.
And that gets all the color and the sound at the same time.
Yeah.
That's a capture card.
Cool. Okay, I actually do have something like that. I can't stream off of it, but I can at least play my Nintendo on the computer, but I don't know where it is at the moment. We're very organized here.
Yes.
So, and before we get into AGDQ, because I do want to talk about that some, but back in these days, to get your run online, you didn't have a capture card. What did you do?
Generally, if you were using Speed Demo's archive to get your speedrun online, you would record it on VHS tape on your TV with either the built-in VCR or you have another VCR, and mail your VHS tape to a guy whose username was Nate, who never used capital letters for anything, literally, and he had a capture card, and
nice.
he would convert it to like AVI format, or maybe it was WMV or something else. I think it was AVI, and then mail your VHS tape back to you.
Nice.
And then you could use it to keep recording and trying again.
Right.
And before they would post the run, they would require verification of the run. So they would ask other people, like, hey, SDA forum, whoever knows a lot about this game, please watch this video and see, does it look legit? Or does it look like maybe it's been spliced? Or did they cheat somehow?
Yeah.
Did they break any of the rules that we have set up on our website as rules that are not allowed in speedrunning? Or anything like that. And if all the verifiers said, yeah, this looks legit, then they would post it and publicly for everyone to see. If enough of the verifiers said, there's too much sketchy stuff, or the video quality is too low, no, then they just, sorry, we're not going to take your run, try again.
Huh. Nice. And so, it was about this time that, as you're getting into Mario World, that you decide that the current categories, and we went into the categories a little bit last time, but just kind of a brief refresher. It typically in any game you have like what's called an any percent, which your main goal is to get to the credits. You don't have to do everything in the game, you just need to get to the credits,
right? Or
you have 100%, and in different games that's set up differently. Like if it is like a Mario World, then you have to beat all the levels, or I guess get all the exits. If
all
100%.
The way that I explain it, because of so many glitches and things that we have currently, like in our modern understanding of these games, 100% will generally mean you collected every developer intended exit.
Oh, okay, yeah,
for a level.
Yeah. Okay, and so. And then in really, really popular games like Mario World, or like a Mario 64, there's going to be a bunch of other different categories. I've seen runs, like Mario World, all castles, or stuff like that. And
there's one Super Mario World, small castles, where you do it as small Mario.
Yes. So getting into, you looked at the choices that you had in front of you.
At the time, that was 100%, which is 96 exits, and any percent, which was 11 exits.
Right. And you wanted to do something different.
Because the runs, to my eye, as I believe, it was either 14 or 16 years old, they looked done well enough that I didn't want to have to learn, get skilled enough to compete with them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just create a new category.
Right.
And then I won't have to compete with anyone.
And that is, I mean, that is a legitimate concern when, when new speedrunners are coming up. Like, I would love to speedrun one day. I would never do like a Super Mario Brothers, which is so optimized. It's a question of, of frames at this point.
Yeah, there can definitely be like barriers to entry for new runners in very popular old games.
Yeah. So tell us about, your thought process in basically inventing a category.
Oh man. So I wanted to do something that wasn't going to be very long. So I didn't want to do a full completion type category, or like even all castles, which is a newish last few years category. Would have been too much. But I wanted to do something interesting and entertaining. And so I came up with play through the game as Small Mario only with no power-ups and not riding Yoshi.
Nice. Yeah.
And initially, it would be allowed that Switch Palaces can be beaten because we didn't know at the time that Small Mario could beat the game without them.
Yeah.
And then really what happened is I spent the next few months trying to figure out how to get through each level such that Switch Palaces were no longer needed, not because I wanted to eliminate the palaces, but because that just means there's less levels to beat, and so the run would be faster.
Right.
By nature of having, like 12 less exits.
Yeah. Well, that's that's really one of the interesting things about speedrunning is that, a lot of times you'll see in an AGDQ or something, somebody going in a certain spot doing an elaborate trick, and it's like, oh wow, that's a really cool trick. That saved a lot of time. I wonder how that was developed. Well, it was probably developed trying to just cut a little bit of time off of somewhere we didn't want to go because we thought it might be beatable a little bit faster.
And maybe even somewhere else in the game.
Right.
Like, oh, I'm right before the boss. Can I save 2 seconds here? Oh, I did, but not in the way I expected. This other weird thing happened when I was trying to do that. Where else can I apply this in the game?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it saved like 20 minutes somewhere else.
Right. So so the Small Mario run is super interesting. Now, we are going in our show notes. We are going to put the video where Dram55 ran this at Games Done Quick.
Was that 2014 or 2013?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Oh.
I'm going to have to look it up.
Yeah. I was there, but I still don't know.
Right. But you're actually helping on the couch with commentary. And last episode, we kind of discussed.
I'm in the red sweater, I believe. I don't know. It's been a while.
You don't remember the year, but you remember your clothes.
It might not have been red. It's been a while since I watched that video.
Right.
Well, I remember it because I was like, oh, I forgot I was going to be like on the show, like on the camera. And I brought this really tacky sweater to like 20 degrees in the snow. And this is the warmest thing I have.
Right. Oh, but,
with shorts.
Again, kind of covering a little bit of ground that we covered last episode, but I do want to hit it in case people are joining us to find out, more about this upcoming event and maybe they didn't hear last episode. But I really think that watching like a marathon like games, like one of the Games Done Quick is one of the best entry points to speedrunning because of the couch. Because you have people who are assuming that the people watching don't necessarily know everything about the game. And so they're explaining the different glitches. They're explaining the different tricks. They're explaining, okay, this is what's going to happen here. And sometimes when you catch these people in stream, on Twitch or something, just on their own channel, they're just, they're practicing it over and over and over again. They're not explaining it every time what they're doing.
Yeah. The way, to get around that is, you pick your favorite game. Let's just say, for example, Ocarina of Time, because that's a lot of people's favorite game. Well, you're not going to go, like, if you want to know what all the glitches are and how they're doing it, you don't go to the channel that has 500 viewers or 3,000 viewers or maybe even 100 viewers. You go to the guy who's playing who has 20 viewers. And when you're there, first of all, you figure out, is this guy speedrunning or is this just some rando playing Ocarina of Time?
Right.
If they're speedrunning, they're going to answer any question you have because they only have 20 people in chat and only 2 of them are participating.
That's true. I have what I would consider a bad habit of watching Twitch on my TV. And so I very frequently forget how interactive the chat is on Twitch and how important it is to runs, especially with people who don't have 10,000 people watching at that moment. Since I'm watching on the TV and I can't actually participate in the chat. But yeah, that's a really good suggestion because
I think
people are very responsive to chat on Twitch.
The chat participation, I think, is what makes Twitch successful. Without it, like, why would I watch someone play video games outside of a competitive match pro league setting?
Sure.
I mean, I'll watch AGDQ, but I can't participate. Well, it's basically competitive pro setting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas if I'm going to watch, a guy with 20 viewers, if I can't talk to him, I'd rather just go read a book or something or play the game myself casually.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So one of the things that and one of the reasons I want to put the video of somebody of in this case, Jim, particularly, doing the small Mario run is just okay, it's you start thinking through the game and you're thinking about, World 1, 2, and it's yeah, that's fine. I don't need Yoshi for that. I don't need power up for that. And you're okay, no, it's just, it's just a little harder. I can get through it. But there's some stuff in there that you actually had to, really sit down and think through, because the game is designed for you to fly in a certain place, or for Yoshi to get you to a certain place,
or to have switch palaces in certain places.
Right. And so these are the spots where you have to sit down and figure out how to do it.
The main levels, where power-ups or palaces or Yoshi would have been thought to be required in that run are Donut Plains 1, the secret exit, where the key is up in the air and you have to do the shell jump to get up to it.
Yeah.
Shell jumps are not, the way that they're done there are not developer intended.
And so shell jumps, for if somebody's not familiar with Mario World, is, when basically you bounce off the top of a shell to get somewhere, but the way you're doing it is you're holding the shell in midair, you're basically twisting around and kicking it under your feet, and then bouncing it off, bouncing off of it to get extra height.
So trying to compare it to real world, how this might work, and it wouldn't in real world.
Sure.
You pick up an item.
Are you telling me Mario physics aren't real?
Right. So you pick up an item, say, for example, your skateboard, right? And you're skating along and you do an ollie. So you're up in the air, but then you grab the skateboard out from under your feet and then put it under your feet and jump off of it even higher.
Yeah.
Well, obviously that doesn't work because you just push the skateboard down.
Right.
But in Mario that works and you go even higher.
Right.
And then the other levels would be, Vanilla Dome 1, the same thing. There's a puzzle to get up to the key. Normally you would have the red switch palace. Instead you do this weird thing with the Buzzy Beetle shells. and you'll see it in the video when you watch the Dram 55 run.
Yeah.
And then the slightly tricky trampoline jump in Vanilla Secret 1. Is that the name? Yeah, that's the name of the level. And then the one that confounded me the most when I was first trying to figure out how to get all the switch palaces out, and I didn't figure it out myself. A tool-assisted speedrunner gave me the solution, or the initial solution. Star World 4, the secret exit, is intended to require either Yoshi or a cape or 2 switch palaces.
Right. Okay, and I'm trying to remember because it's been a while since I played that.
It's the one in space with the trees.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah, those are.
It's the last level in the run before Bowser.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are. It's really interesting, and it really shows off what. One thing that I find just fascinating with speedruns is, people who are very good at the game figuring out solutions to problems that usually the developer didn't even think were really going to be problems.
Right, figuring out solutions to puzzles that they themselves created.
Right, exactly. So we are going to put that video in. So you mentioned tool assisted speedrun as helping you out there, and that is actually an area that you started getting into as well.
Correct.
And the tool assisted speedrun, the way we kind of explained it last time is you're programming a computer to run the game, and so you can have very, very specific frame perfect, pixel perfect jumping and all that. But the way you described it to me, in a particular way earlier today, and he's getting that deer in the headlights look.
I'm curious what that way was.
And it wasn't really describing exactly the technical aspects of what happened, but that tool assisted speedruns, you're not playing the game, you're solving the game.
Yes, that's the way that I view it.
Yeah, so when you watch a tool assisted speedrun, this is not somebody who's sitting down and playing the game. It's somebody who has dug into the game, figured out the most optimal way, the way to exploit the tricks, the way to the best way to get through things with the use of, like the name implies, tools.
Yeah.
Like computers.
And so what a lot of people don't understand when I say that you're not playing the game, literally you're not playing the game. You have the option of, instead of running the game at normal speed, running the game when I got into it, you could advance the game 1 frame at a time and move 1 frame forward. Now wait for me to choose which buttons I'm going to push.
Yeah.
Okay, now move 1 more frame forward and wait for me to choose which buttons I'm going to push. And then you do that for 8 or 10 frames. And if you don't get the result you like, you go back and try again.
You back up, right.
8 frames.
Right.
Or 3 frames or 30 frames.
Yes.
You're not playing in real time. You're not playing. You're picking which buttons to push on each frame individually.
Right. It's when you see a tool assisted speedrun, either in a GDQ, and they'll normally have a task block, is really fascinating. And I do think they have one,
best part of SDA or AGDQ, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And so you really should catch it, if you are able to. But what you're seeing there, or what you see on a video on YouTube that says TAS, Tool Assisted Speedrun, is the result of a lot of effort and time.
Yeah,
that
I did.
Is literally frame by frame inputs.
Yeah, I did a tool assisted speedrun of Super Demo World, which, if you've seen Super Mario World hacks, they use a program called Lunar Magic to take all the textures and tiles and everything from the Super Mario World game and then reassemble them in their own way to make their own levels. And Lunar Magic is the program that's used to do that.
Right.
Super Demo World was a game created by the creator of Lunar Magic to demonstrate the abilities of his program, Lunar Magic. A lot of well-known and respected speedrunners will tell you that Super Demo World is a very poorly made game and has awful level design. I am not one of those people. I did the tool-assisted speedrun. I believe it was the second iteration of the 120 exit, which was the 100% completion tool-assisted speedrun, which at the time was like 2 hours and 8 minutes, where I chose the input for each frame. And there's 60 frames each second.
Wow. Yeah.
And many times, of course, a lot of those frames, I chose the input more than once because I went back and tried again.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, then, and
I didn't play the game at all. I never played the game. I still have not played the game.
That's really interesting. And I my first experience, and we were talking about this earlier, but I'll repeat it for the sake of our audience, because we very foolishly talked about this stuff for like an hour before we sat down.
We did probably better than what this podcast will be before we got here. Yeah.
I don't know why would you. No, this is golden. Everything before that was terrible.
That was platinum.
But my first experience watching a tool assisted speedrun, and it's a lot of people's first experience, is I don't see the point. This is just cheating. I don't. Why are we even doing this? This is silly. Why are people watching it? And it took a while for me to understand what, just what you were saying, that, no, we're not playing a game here. We're solving it.
Yeah. The game is a puzzle. It's not a platformer at that point. It's not an RPG.
Right.
Or it's not whatever genre it is. It's a puzzle.
Yeah. And when everything is working best, the task guys and the speedrunner guys are working hand in hand to find the fastest way through this game.
For each of them, which will be different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the task times and the I guess the manual speed running times are not going to line up. There's going to be tricks that only a computer can do. For now. And we keep running across these tricks that we thought were task only and are not task only anymore.
Yeah, because there's so far a vast majority of the time, if you get a glitch and you think, oh, this will never be done by a human, well, the glitch that you found will probably never be done by a human that way. But there's a way you can set it up that will make it so a human can do it because the inputs are less precise.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when everything's working well, the task runs are basically uncovering the craziness in the game that can suggest to the speedrunner, hey, maybe if I try this, this, and this, and it probably won't pan out in the same way, but it does open up what we understand is possible in these games, and I think makes everybody better.
Yeah, and if there wasn't tool assisted speedrunning, then most of the people that messed around with the games in their emulators would have stopped long before they did, because they're just, oh, we played it on an emulator, that's cool. But without the tool-assisted speedrun, that's where it would have stopped. Instead, they kept going, they did the frame advance, they did the glitch hunting, because they don't have to be able to actually perform it. Right. They just have to know it exists, and then they can make it happen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We write in there really, we're kind of doing some very broad strokes and scratching the surface of speedrunning, which really is a little bit different for every game. And I don't, and I'm bringing this up because I don't want to scare any new people off from, like, at the beginning of this program, they're like, yeah, AGDQ, I need to watch some of that. Wait a minute. They're talking glitches and tasks and all this stuff. And I'm lost in the world. It gets way more complicated than what we've just gone over. And I say this as someone who started watching speedrunners from Games Done Quick marathons. It's a really good place to start. And, just, download the schedule. They start January 7th. If you happen to be there and you want to look for either me or Jim's friend, you're not going to find us there this year.
That's right.
We're poor. We have no vacation, and so we will be at home. But we're going to get a little bit more into the marathon itself, but download a schedule. It's on their website. Download the schedule, highlight a couple of games that you're interested in, and then
be sad that they're showing at 3 a.m.
Right, exactly.
On a Tuesday.
Yes. Me being the RPG guy, they normally, even when they started at a normal time, it's normally like 9:00 at night, and it's a 6-hour run. But if it is a situation like that, they'll have it up on YouTube the next day. And so, they'll actually have it up within, it's usually a few minutes. But when you wake up in the morning, it will be there waiting for you. And so just take a look and see how these people, just totally break the games that we grew up loving and spent days and weeks and months on, and they beat it in 37 seconds and, don't even break a sweat doing it.
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating a little bit, but
Yeah, I've definitely seen some people sweating up on that stage.
Right. Okay, so let's take our break, and then we're going to come right back and talk more specifically about AGDQ. Hey Drum, did you know that the Techno Funk Boy isn't just a group of podcast hosts that live inside a Super Nintendo?
Really?
That's right, we're also a band.
Tell me more.
We're a retro gaming inspired band that plays covers of classic video game themes, original game music, and other music in the style of classic games.
That sounds great.
Yeah, and you can find our first full-length album on iTunes, Amazon, and CD Baby. It's called the Final Fantasy Mixes, and it's an EDM tribute to some of Uematsu's best musical themes. Check the episode notes for links or go to Techno Funk Boy to learn more.
Techno Funk Boy sounds like the greatest band that has ever existed.
I programmed him to say that.
He comes in the night, seemingly out of nowhere, a blur of yellow whose only mission is justice. His name is already legend, but the reality doesn't quite line up with the myth, and we're about to find out exactly how wrong we've been about him. He is the Yellow Canary. The Yellow Canary is a comedic thriller by Paul Lytle about a would-be superhero who may just be crazy enough to make a difference. The Yellow Canary by Paul Lytle, available from Amazon in print and on Kindle. Check for the link in the show notes.
I'm back.
Okay, welcome back. So, we are still here with Jim's friend, and we want to talk a little bit about AGDQ in particular. I've watched enough of this that I, like most people that watch on Twitch, have a general idea about what goes on there. And the first thing we're going to do is to let people know what they're going to see, which is someone playing a video game, a couch right behind them.
Hopefully quickly.
A couch right behind them with some people on the couch.
Usually 3 to 5.
Right. And those are people that are generally knowledgeable about the game that's being played.
Or somehow related to the runner, like the girlfriend or something like that.
Yes. And hopefully that person doesn't do much commentary.
Or propose.
Did that happen?
In reverse, yes. There has been a speedrunner who proposed to their girlfriend on the couch. Live.
Please tell me she said yes.
I wasn't watching and I didn't care.
You're like, are we going to play video games or not?
Like, honestly, the drama and talk at AGDQ about that event wasn't whether she said yes or no. Nobody cared. It was just the fact that they did it. It was like, why do this at home?
It's kind of like... It's like, and me having no idea who this person is. It might be someone that, like...
I didn't have any idea either.
I might be going to their channel, like, every day, and, like, they call me out tomorrow, and it's like, why are you making fun of me on your podcast? Like they listen to this podcast. But but it's kind of like the people who propose at the baseball game, and it's like, congratulations. I'm just here to watch baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't wish you bad. I mean, but this is not what I'm here for. So a lot of most of the time the people on the couch are from that game's community. A lot of times they're runners of that game themselves, or at least they know a lot about the game, and are hopefully qualified to do commentary. And then behind them is the crowd. And depending on the year of AGDQ you watch, the bigger that crowd gets.
And the game. Sometimes you see a lot of empty chairs.
Yeah.
And the time of day.
Yeah, if it's hour 4 of Final Fantasy VII
and it's
at
not
3
a
o'clock in the morning.
Run.
Right.
Yeah, if it's a blindfolded run, that room is going to be full.
Oh,
anything else like hour 4?
Right. Blindfolded runs. Now, if you're not familiar with those are spectacular. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's somebody playing a game but blindfolded.
Although in that case, it's not necessarily quickly anymore. Sometimes it is, sometimes not.
Yeah. So, what you're really going to hear from are mostly the person playing and the people on the couch, and also the announcer who's calling out donations. Now, this is a charity event, and traditionally, donations come with a message that's either, well wishes, a joke, or some sort of comment, and those are read aloud during the stream. Hopefully, at opportune moments when we don't need silence or commentary or something like that. But
they do tell, like, all the players know in advance that they can tell the announcer, hey, there's a spot coming up where I need it to be quiet. Don't announce anything for until I say you can announce again.
Yeah, exactly. And so you'll hear that. There are times when they'll ask for quiet from the whole room because it's a particularly tricky part, or if they just need to explain something that looks weird and you're not sure what happened.
Yeah, or if they use an audio cue. Something.
Audio cue, that happens a lot. So the couch is there because they're assuming that most of the people watching it don't know this game backwards and forwards like they do, and they need to explain what in the world is going on.
Well, yeah, they can get, it'll peak last year, I think somewhere around 180,000 viewers for some of the games.
Yeah.
And not all of those viewers obviously are going to be experts on the game.
Well, that's like, me coming in, it's like, okay, I played Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
But I'm watching them play it swordless, and they're counting the number of bad guys they kill, and I don't know what's going on because I don't know it that well.
An interesting point, I believe it was The Legend of Zelda, great moments in speedrun history. There was a Zelda speedrunner named TSA who was like super, super popular, tons and tons of fanboys. He ran every Zelda game and he had the world record in most of them. And this was maybe 12 or 14 years ago. And then for a long time, those records were held and nobody would beat him. Or if they did, he would then turn around and beat them again within days. And years later, some of those games, they take longer than 2 hours, which is the traditional maximum length of a VHS tape.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have to pause the game, remove the VHS, put a new VHS in, and resume the game. Well, that's a perfect opportunity to splice, save the game, and have 2 segments on different runs.
Oh, yeah.
And present them as one run. Well, in The Legend of Zelda, with the enemy counting and the known seed, they can say, if I do this and this action, this is the thing that will result. Well, it turned out his run had impossible combinations of actions and results.
Wow. Which of course, since we know more about the games now than we did then,
at the
we
time,
weren't
everyone,
recognizing it
at the time, everyone was just like, wow, this guy's really good.
Yeah.
And he was, but slightly less really good than he presented himself as.
Right. Yeah, and that'll be one thing that you notice is that a lot of times even seemingly random stuff, the runner knows exactly what's going to happen. So drops in Zelda aren't as random as we think they are. Am I
going to get a bomb out of this pot? Well, they already know.
Right. Random encounters in Final Fantasy games are not random. We think they are because we don't know what seed we're on, and we're not sitting there counting steps while we're running the game. But the speedrunners of those games know what seed they're on, and they're counting their steps. And so you're going to hear them say, okay, he's about to encounter 4 imps, right at this particular tile, and guess what he does? And they, and it drops a certain thing that they need. And so yeah, as we learn more about the games, I can totally see how, somebody splicing it together, it's like, wait a minute, that enemy wasn't supposed to drop that.
Yep.
Wow, that's crazy.
And so then all of his runs got removed, immediately from Speedrun's archive.
Goodness.
Is that even the name of the website? Speed Demos Archive. There we go.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I actually been to that website.
Oh, so that's what we see. And the marathon runs for 7 days straight, 24 hours a day. They'll play the game, they'll do their commentary. Hopefully they're entertaining. Most of the time they are, because that's one of the reasons they choose the runners that they do is, the ability to draw and keep a crowd.
Yeah, they get, they open the marathon up for submissions from anyone who wants to say, hey, I run this game. Here's an example video of me running the game with my interaction with chat. Or maybe there's no interaction with chat and they're just playing. And any game, any runner, you can submit anything you want. And then they have a committee of I don't know how many people. It might just be one person or it might be dozens. I don't know. Who goes through all the games. And some games they just throw out right away. And then maybe it might even just be random. Well, every 5th game we're going to ignore because there's 10,000 submissions. Right? Well, at some point you got to just do stuff like that. But then they have certain criteria they look for. Is this person fun to watch? Does this person seem knowledgeable? Is this person within a reasonable estimate of world record? Do they have consistent gameplay? Can they do 10 runs in a row? Or is it this one's going to be really good? The next one, they're going to die 8 times in level 1.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, they've picked these runs with the viewer in mind. This is an entertainment. I mean, not just a charity event, but also an entertainment event. And so normally the commentary is going to be pretty good. It's going to explain what you're seeing when it's not making sense to your eyes.
Especially, they've done, this is what, like the 6th or 7th AGDQ event. They're getting a lot better at, commentators knowing how to commentate to an audience.
Yeah.
Because, at the start, it was just like, hey, this guy knows the game well, put him on the couch.
Right.
And then he
talks.
And
then when it started, it was like in a basement, right?
The first one was in Mike Oyama's basement, and I think, I don't recall, I think there were like 30 people, but it might have been 6. One of those two.
And it was literally, I've watched some of those videos.
It was literally in this guy's basement in his house in, I think, California.
Right.
And
there was almost, in a lot of those runs, there's almost no commentary.
Yeah,
it was very dull.
Just a bunch of guys playing games.
Right.
But now, having MASH competitions. Who can shoot fastest in Metal Slug?
Yeah.
And the answer was always Mike Oyama.
But now it's really, I mean, they have this, I mean, it is the biggest one for a reason, and they have this thing down to a science. And,
yeah, I mean, they have paid employees now at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what we see. Now, I have not been to one of these, and so that's the only thing that I have seen. You've been to a few at this point, and one thing I find interesting, and I'm always very curious about is people talk, and sometimes they even talk on camera, during the event about the practice room, or about, am I wrong in thinking that there's like, someone brings in a bunch of pinball machines or something?
Yeah, I think that started, 2015. They brought in 2 or 3 pinball machines that they just kind of had in the hotel, not the lobby, but in like, kind of a side lobby, not where you check in, but just a big open space.
Yeah. So, and all this does happen in a hotel,
and then in
right?
2016.
Yeah. Thanks for, he nodded.
Yeah, I nodded.
He forgot this was radio.
Well, I was already talking, and then you asked me a question in the middle of my sentence. And, so in 2016, I believe, was the first year, I might be off, that they had like a full room of like 30 arcade cabinets and pinball machines and flip the table game and all kinds of stuff. Right. And they were all free. You just like, you push the I paid my 25-cent button and it starts.
Oh, gotcha.
Because they were paid for in advance by AGDQ.
So at this point, they've really just taken over the hotel for a week.
Yes. It is highly advised that if you plan on going to DC for something that's not AGDQ, you make sure you're not at that hotel during that week.
That would be awkward.
They have, I'll just say this. Some people don't smell good. And they don't care that they don't smell good. The other thing, the event is 24/7. If you're trying to sleep and the people in the hotel room next to you are throwing a party at 3 a.m. because they just finished their run,
yeah,
you're not going to sleep well.
Right. And which is exactly what you would do if you just did a successful run, in this giant event that is raising millions of dollars at this point. Yeah. Every year, millions upon millions of dollars for charity. And so, yeah, that would be horrible. If you were in the next room.
I happened to be in a room that had security called on us twice within like 20 minutes. And then we just ended the party before they kicked us all out.
Oh, wow. Oh, goodness. So,
it was very loud.
Yeah.
When I was on my way to that room party, when the elevator opened, which was like 20 rooms away, I could hear it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. All right. So, so between the main event, between, celebratory gatherings, between, the arcade room, practice room, and now, I don't know how many people are going. It's definitely hundreds, might be thousands coming.
Last year, I don't know about this coming, in a month from now, but in 2016, they limited, you have to pay to be allowed to participate in the practice room, in the arcade room, and in the main room. It's like $40 to go. They sold, and they said this is how many we can sell, 900.
900, okay.
So there were at least 900 people there.
Wow. For
the event.
Yeah. Now I've been told by speedrunners who go that it's an exceptionally friendly event, that people are generally willing, unless like they're up next.
Yeah.
They're generally willing to talk to pretty much anybody, to give tips to pretty much anybody.
Yeah. There is, that's generally going to be true. There are some people who, at no fault really of their own, they're just so popular that they have so many people around them all the time. They basically have their own video game paparazzi that you just can't ask them a question because 20 other people are too. Yeah. And they're just like, I want to go hang out with this guy. I'm not even playing a game right now. And then all the other people are just like following them around. With the exception of those few, yeah, anyone who's playing a game, you can just walk up to them and like ask them what they're doing. And let me show you the ways.
Right. Yeah. And that's one thing that's really impressed me about the speedrunning community is that obviously it is a competition, where we are competing against times, we're competing against records, but it is just about as friendly of a competition in general as it seems like you can get. And people are genuinely trying to help each other and get other people involved.
Yeah, back in the day, and I think it still exists, there was a website called twingalaxies.com.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That kept track of world records.
Yeah.
But they did not post videos. And so they were like, we verified these times, and so they are the world record, but we're not going to show you the video. And so there used to be a few runners in a few games who would only submit their times and videos to Twin Galaxies because they didn't want to share their new secrets and tricks.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now with the popularity of Twitch and even just the popularity of speedrunning becoming more mainstream, although it's not mainstream, I guess you could say maybe it is. They were on, what's that guy's name? Colbert?
Oh, were they?
I think they had Mitch Flowerpower on Stephen Colbert.
Oh, wow. I gotta look that up.
And the three-legged race. The 100... No. Maybe it was like 1,000-meter dash versus Super Mario Brothers 3 versus Colbert heats up a Hot Pocket in the microwave and eats it. Who finishes first?
Okay, I've got to find this now. This sounds great.
I think that's what it was. And so I guess you could say that's mainstream. Mitch Flowerpower is, I guess, within the speedrunning community, he's the closest to what you could say is famous. There's people more well-known than him, but he's very well-known. Super Mario Brothers 3 runner and Super Mario Maker player and maker. I don't know what we were talking about before I interjected.
Oh, just in general that the competition is very friendly.
Oh, yeah.
And people are willing to share. And that might be, a lot of it because, you're generally streaming your practices on Twitch now.
Nowadays, yeah.
Yeah. And,
it used to be, like if you were trying to figure something out you post on a web forum, and then other people who are, very niche interested in this game and doing this thing in this game would help you, and then you would help them.
Wow. Yeah. As somebody who likes competition a lot, but likes friendly competition, that's something that's very appealing to me. And I think that the marathons like Games Done Quick are even more enjoyable when you know that, it's like if somebody's running like a Mario World run, the people on the couch are technically that person's competitors.
Yeah.
Generally. They are also runners.
Many of them will be, yeah.
And, but everybody's trying to make each other better, in general. And so that's very appealing to me. And so, yeah.
And they all want to see all of the others do better.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's very cool. And, if we have piqued your interest, the Awesome Games Quick starts January 7th. It is 24 hours a day, for 7 days straight. If you go to Twitch at any point in those 7 days, it will be probably the first featured video on there.
Yeah, and if you don't see it, then just go to, you search games by most popularly viewed game now, and you'd be like, wow, Color a Dinosaur is more popular than League of Legends right now.
It's one of the few times that League of Legends is not the number one game.
Yeah. Although sometimes it still is.
Oh, yeah. So, if by chance you download this after AGDQ, they do post all the videos on YouTube. Just search it. Basically, normally if you search a game that you like with Games Done Quick in YouTube, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to find a run of it from one of the Games Done Quick events.
Or just put the name of your game and then speedrun,
yeah.
And then you'll get videos that aren't from Games Done Quick as well.
Right. Yeah. You'll get people's
personal Twitch videos, right, or, older videos.
Yeah. And you'll probably run across the world record runs on those too. And you can, there's a lot of those are just amazing. And so, very much encourage you to do that. Jim's friend, have we forgotten anything that we need to hit?
I don't know. I mean, I could talk about this all night.
Well, yes. It was already going to be a long episode, but that's okay. You need to sit here and listen to me for that long. Well, thank you so much for coming by. We do want to have you on more, in the future, not next week. I mean, you can, but, but
I don't have anything going on.
Sounds good. So, we do, again, thanks, Jim's friend, and we will be watching out for, Games Done Quick here in a couple of weeks. Do
you have the dates for that?
January 7th through 14th.
Sounds reasonable.
That sounds close.
Yeah.
It's called Google. It's called Google, folks. I mean, if I'm wrong,
I don't know. In the past, it's often been from the 3rd to the 8th, but it's also been sometimes the second week of January as well.
Yeah.
I know the 3rd through the 8th because that was like, sorry, Mom, I won't be here for your birthday. I'm going to go watch people play video games.
Since you bring that up, let me bring it up just because I have said January 7th like 12 times, and I'm pretty sure I remembered that right from when I looked it up last week. 7th through the 14th. And so it is a charity event. It's going to, benefit the Prevent Cancer Foundation. You'll see, you'll hear and see a lot of donations go through there as you're watching. By all means, please consider donating as you watch as well. And so it's a great event. It's a fun event. And so, yeah, check it out. And otherwise, we will be here throughout the Christmas season this year. And so do tune in next week. And we will be back, and we hope to see you there. Thanks for listening.
The Retro Zoo Super Show is brought to you by the Techno Funk Boy. Follow us on Twitter at Techno Funk Boy, on Facebook at the Techno Funk Boy, and sign up for our email list at technofunkboy.com. Also look for us on Spotify, iTunes, and Amazon for music. If you are so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on your favorite podcast catcher. If you are not so inclined, you are obviously some sort of villain trying to conquer the world. Unowned music and gameplay clips are used for educational and critical purposes. Thank you for listening, keep gaming, and once you have responsibilities that need to be done at this time, then you can game later.